This is Radio Free Hillsdale, 101.7 FM. I'm Scot Bertram, and with me today is State Senator Mike Shirkey. He is the state senator for Michigan's 16th District and also the Senate Majority Leader as well. Senator, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Scott. I'm happy to be with you.
And are you excited about the fall? I think we have finally seen perhaps our last 60-degree day or so here in Michigan, at least the lower part of Michigan. And I, for one, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, no, fall is my favorite time of year. I am shameless in admitting it, and I'm also shameless in admitting the reason for it is that I'm a very avid bow hunter, and so this is my sweet spot of the year.
And that's happening now. I saw some people, or is it bow hunting right now? I'm not a huge hunter.
Sure.
Okay. Yep. I saw some people out over the weekend.
Yeah, I've got two of my grandsons scored a nice buck and a nice doe on our property opening weekend, and I have not taken a shot at a buck yet, but I have harvested a couple of does to try to keep the auto accidents minimized.
Sure. Senator, last time we talked was just following Governor Whitmer's actions on the budget, vetoing a whole bunch of things in there, from charter school funding to autism hotline funding and things like that. And I know there have been at least two, you can tell me if there are more that I've missed, meetings among the leaders and the governor talking about those issues, but also talking about moving forward, too, on a couple of issues. Where do we stand? There's also been some proposals to bring back some of that spending, I know, in at least the House, I believe. What's the current status?
So, Scott, the reaction of my and our governor to this budget was very dramatic and very uniquely different than any other governor in the last 100 years. I have no problems with a governor exercising their veto power on a line item basis. That is perfectly within their purview. But we have this state administrative board statute that allows a governor to unilaterally transfer with unlimited dollars, but dollars within a given budget. And that is where the constraint is now, because she was so aggressive in using that obscure law, like I said, uniquely different than any other governor in history, that we're now concerned that if we don't put some balance of power amendments back into that statute, that anything we send to her is subject to being moved to something other than what the legislative intent was. And so it's bottlenecked right now, where she sent an indication to us that she'd like to reverse some of the decisions that she's made with both vetoes and transfers. And we're saying, well, that's great, except we want to have some assurance that the next budget we send isn't going to be subject to the same kinds of unilateral transfers that really change the intent of what our Constitution provides, and that is that the legislature is uniquely positioned to determine where we spend money. And so it is a bit of an arm wrestling contest right now. That's about as simple as I can say it.
It seems, Senator, as if the governor expected Republicans, both lawmakers and perhaps those citizens, to cry out and say this is ridiculous, and you've got to act. The Senate and the House has to act to put that money back in. I don't get the feeling that's the case, certainly from you and from some of the lawmakers, and I don't necessarily hear a lot of that coming from citizens as well. Outside of, look, charter schools are taking a hit here. They don't get the same money that now all other public schools are getting. But by and large, it seems as if people understand the process that's happening right now.
Yeah, there are a couple of entities. She cut funding for veterans. She cut funding for mental health services, and she cut secondary road patrol for county sheriffs, which in many counties it's a primary part of law enforcement in counties because of previous budget cuts. And all of those entities are raising their hands, saying, "Wait, what about us? This is pretty dramatic." But right now, they're focusing all of their ire against. Here's the simple solution, or the simple answer, Scott, is we funded it, she cut it. Go talk to her.
Yes, understood.
That's what we're telling everybody.
Yep. And so, as you look in the next couple of weeks, someone has to sort of as you put it, blink here, if there's going to be a path forward. What do you see as the next steps?
Well, we had our legal teams working over the weekend to come up with some concepts or proposals on amending that state admin board statute to accomplish what I described a moment ago, and that is put some balance of power back into it. I'm running up to Lansing this morning as I'm speaking to you to review the status of that, and I'm hoping that could break the bottleneck. But until that happens, my answer to just about anybody that asks me about the budget is budget's done.
And I did want to highlight that quickly too. You know, that has been something we've heard a lot. You know, the budget is done, and I just mean to say that the budget is done. The budget is signed. So government is funded, except for those parts that the governor decided to veto out. The state's operating. Everything is as normal.
Correct. Yep. There's she signed all 16 budgets. There are 16 budgets in our total budget, and but there were 147 line items that she exercised her veto power on and eliminated. So if she wants to go back to the table and renegotiate those, I want to understand how we're going to add some balance of power back into the admin board process so that the legislature doesn't get completely disenfranchised from its responsibility as identified in our Constitution as being the sole source of identifying what our spending is going to be.
State Senator Mike Shirkey, also the Senate Majority Leader, Branch, Hillsdale, and Jackson counties, the 16th State Senate District. Find him at senatormikeshirkey.com. Senator, we talked often through this past year about the historic auto insurance reform legislation that passed the House and Senate and was to the governor. And it is being rolled out. It's by next summer, people should see these changes, potential changes in their auto insurance. Over the past couple of weeks, I've seen this effort, this push by even some on the right to create changes into these auto insurance reform bills. This package that was worked on for so long and was your number one priority in the Senate, as you told us as you became the Majority Leader. What is at issue here, and why are some still unhappy with what the changes have been?
Well, it's not too difficult to triangulate. We have a very deeply entrenched industry, very complex, very high cost industry that a lot of businesses have their complete business models built around our very rich auto no-fault insurance system. Mm-hmm. And once we reformed that and started giving people choices, those special interests that have deeply entrenched business models are now seeing that they're going to have to reinvent themselves a little bit. And their first reaction is to get us to back off of some of the reforms. Well, we're now collecting input on those people who think we may have missed something. There are technical details that I have no problem us visiting for clarification purposes, but to have a wholesale rewrite of that reform is not going to happen. Next July, it'll become available for drivers. They'll start seeing the ability through their own choices to save money. And we're just going to have to get through this. There'll be a lot of noise between now and then because a lot of businesses that have been set up based on that our unique auto no-fault system in Michigan are having to reinvent themselves.
What I'm hearing you say is the same forces, the same interests that opposed the overhaul in the first place are simply continuing to oppose and trying to perhaps create changes. That's what we're hearing here.
That's exactly what's happening.
And Senator Shirkey, in the Free Press on Sunday, front page story, there was some concerns that health insurance costs may increase because of the no-fault overhaul. And best that I could see from that Free Press story, it seemed that they are not. They talked to some people in the health insurance industry, and they said no. By and large, a huge majority, they're not anticipating an increase in health insurance rates because of this auto insurance change coming in 2020.
Those in opposition to what we did will stop at nothing to throw obstacles on the railroad tracks and make false claims to try to keep the past the present, and that's just not going to happen. This was a huge change. I admit that insurance companies, insurance agents in particular, are going to have to their importance in the conversation with their clients has been raised now because now people have to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a big transition. And that's the reason why, Scott, we put an 18-month implementation to it. I would have liked to have done it sooner, but there really are some major system changes, both on the insurance side and on the provider side, that they have to accommodate. And that's the reason why we laid out such a long implementation period.
And Senator, you mentioned this, but those voices are only going to get louder here in the next few months because once the change is going to effect and people see the savings they can achieve via auto insurance, it's going to be next to impossible to convince people to spend more, I would imagine.
I'm seeing some of those voices calm down now, and they're just resolving to a new reality, but there are going to be a few lingering ones. Most of those are associated with the trial attorneys industry. They're the ones that are screaming the loudest right now.
All right, State Senator Mike Shirkey, the 16th State Senate District, Branch, Hillsdale, and Jackson counties. You can find him online, senatormikeshirkey.com, or Facebook as well. Search for Senator Mike Shirkey. Senator, thank you as always for joining us.
You're welcome, Scott. Talk to you in a couple of weeks. Thank you. Bye-bye.